Okay, welcome back to this series on Markdown. As I explained in the last video, what we're trying to learn is a system for preparing scientific and technical documents. And in order to get you to do this, I want to kind of at least explain to you why you should care. So there's a bit of a problem with what I would expect to be the typical workflow that one of my undergraduate students would have learned before coming into my class. Specifically, the workflow that we're kind of used to is writing Word documents. And a Word document is a very handy, user-friendly thing, or maybe you're using Google Docs or something like that. But whatever it is, if you're using word processing software, you're going to get something that looks like this. And it's extremely user-friendly. You get to type in things like, hey, this is my Word document. It has bold text, italics, and all of that kind of stuff. It looks like a simple object, but it's not. Internally, the structure of a Word document is, I won't say it's a mess because it's not actually a mess. They're a well-designed document format, but they are complicated. So in order to give you a sense of that, what I've done is pulled apart the Word document that I just showed you in this slide and found the internal stuff that contains all of the text of interest. And you can see in the kind of on the right hand side, sort of 2/3 of the way down the document, you can find it in white. It says, this is my Word document. And then 3 lines down, you can see it says, it has. And then another few lines down, you can see it say bold. This is surrounded by so much other stuff which describes the formatting and all of that other kind of thing that basically means the internal structure of the document is really quite complicated. So the docx file is technically, it's a compressed folder that has lots of files. I dug in, found the one that was relevant, showed you part of one of those files, and your text is buried in with all of this other stuff. It's not the world's simplest tool. HTML documents allow you to create things that are quite, that feel like they're the same thing in terms of what you're typing. Like, here is my HTML document. It has bold text, italics, it's got lists, it looks simple. This feels like it's the same document under the hood, but when you actually look under the hood, it's completely different to what the Word document is. And if it's an HTML document, it's often actually a lot more complicated than this really simple one that I'm showing you here. But even this one is not amazingly readable. Like, it's got all of these p and br and ul and li and bits and pieces in there that mean that the raw file itself is not very human readable. And that's true for both Word documents and HTML and presumably Google Doc, whatever format they use. I've never actually looked, but they're not human readable. They're unpleasant to look at. So what we would like for the purposes of creating reproducible scientific documents is something that is a little bit simpler internally than these kinds of documents. And that's where Markdown comes in handy. So the logic for Markdown is that it's designed to satisfy some criteria that, as scientists, we might care about. So firstly, it's got to be something that we can write in plain text, just ordinary, everyday text, no fancy formatting, no messy internal document structure, just plain, everyday text. That plain text should be human readable, so you should be able to look at the raw file and work out what it says without pain. But it should also allow a bit of structure too. It should allow you to format things. You should have some convention that allows you to tell what a heading is, or what is bold, or what is underlined, or what counts as a list. And ideally, because we like pretty things, although our document should just be a plain text file and really simple, it would be nice if there was some way of having it build into something pretty so that at the end you could get an HTML file or you could get a Word doc or something like that. That's the idea. That's what we want Markdown to do. So here's an example of what a Markdown document looks like. It is a plain text file. You could create one opening like in Notepad, the dumbest possible text editing software you can find, you can write a Markdown document within. And it kind of looks like this. So this is the sort of thing I would write, and I'll take you through the process of writing these things in a moment. So you would have something here that says introduction, and there's a hint here that this hash probably tells you, oh, that's probably a heading. Welcome to my awesome class, and it's got some asterisks around that. You will learn all sorts of useful things about R Markdown. And then we go to what might very well be a subheading that says, why should you care? And then we've got this section here that looks like a list, right? This is how we write lists if we're just doing it on pencil and paper with a dash, and then each bullet point is a separate thing. And then you can find a website underneath just by writing the website. Okay, that's the kind of thing you write. Then what you get as your output is something like this. So yes, you get a heading and you get something that says my awesome class in bold, and you've got subheadings. And yes, this thing here actually is a link. Like if I clicked on this, it would open up, these slides, but you get the idea. Notice something important. When I wrote the Markdown originally, it was this. It's plain text. Nothing tells you that the headings should be bold or big and brown or anything like that. What it's done when creating the output is it's matched the theme of my slides. And that's not a coincidence because my slides are written using Markdown, kind of. So what's happening here is that the Markdown output that you're seeing when you look at my slides is being created by using theming or styling information that my slides provide. And I'll talk about how to modify the themes of your documents later on in the process. And at this point you might be going, okay, but this seems like a really, really boring way of doing something that I can already do in Word, and you're not selling me on this. Okay, because I'm getting near the end of this video, I will make my best attempt to sell it on you. The main reason you should do it, besides the boring one of scientific reproducibility that we all care about but is not exactly sexy, is looking at the other things you can do with this tool. So you can use it to create professional websites. So I picked this website here by Alison Hill, who is magnificent and does awesome stuff with R Markdown. So she's written, this fabulous website, which I love, and she's written themes that you can use to create websites using R. You could alternatively use it to create a blog, like a visual blog. So this is a website that I run, and it's, again, under the hood, a lot of it is Markdown, and it's where I go and post a bunch of art. You can write books in Markdown if you want to, and here is a very famous book called R for Data Science by Hadley Wickham and Garrett Grolleman. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I hope I've got it right. And it's a fabulous book. I recommend reading it. You can write academic papers using Markdown. This is a paper that I wrote a couple of years ago, which I don't necessarily recommend you read, but it's one that I'm quite proud of. You can create slide decks like this one or that one. You can create slide decks using Markdown. You can write your resume using Markdown. It's a pretty flexible tool that you can use for lots of different purposes. So once you've learnt this one tool, you get to extend it in lots and lots of other ways. So hopefully that's enough to motivate you to do it. And the last thing I want to do with this video is just to make sure that you're ready So from the last one, you should have done the step of creating an Rstudio account. The only thing you need to do in order to be ready for the next one is to create an Rstudio Cloud project. So if we go back over to Rstudio Cloud, so if you recall, you would be seeing something like this. You click on the thing that says New Project, and it says Preparing Project, Deploying Project. This thing takes a while, and I will wait for it, and I will wait, and I will wait. This part is the most annoying thing because when you're doing these videos, you're kind of all alone and bored. Oh, signed in and transferring data. Come on, come on. Oh my god, it's boring. There we go. Okay. So I wanted you to get to the point that you've got this. What you're looking at here is Rstudio. You don't need to use Rstudio to create a Markdown document. That's kind of overkill. You can create a Markdown document in anything. Like I said before, any text editor will work. I'm going to suggest that we do it this way because as we go through all of the R Markdown stuff, it will turn out to be handy to have this extra fanciness to it. So here we are. You can see this is a kind of flexible piece of software. It's got places where I can type stuff. For now, you don't need to know anything about it other than, hey, we've got a project and I will call this my Markdown project. And now it's got a name, and that's it. Basically, you've done everything that you need to do. Once you've got to that point, you're ready to go. So I will stop this one here, and then in the next video, I will actually get into writing these Markdown documents yourself. Okay, I will stop it there.